Coming up on today's edition of Vikings Now, we have an absolutely loaded show for you guys. The main story that we're going to be talking about is that during the NFL trade deadline, there was a report that came out that players went to GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and pretty much said, do not trade us. We think this football team can still win games. Obviously, this was after the Kirk Cousins season-ending Achilles injury. Turns out some veteran players on this Vikings roster went straight to the GM and said, do not trade us. I'll give you guys that full quote. Then we'll also talk about Danielle Hunter, his Defensive Player of the Year odds, and then also Justin Jefferson. Does he have a chance to play this weekend against the Saints? But speaking about the Saints, if you guys want the Vikings to get this win this Sunday, all I need you guys to do is go down there and like today's video. It's a free, easy way to help us out. And hey, don't jinx us. If you guys want the Vikings to win, don't jinx us. Like today's video. You don't want to be sitting there Sunday and being like, damn, I should have liked that kid's YouTube video. So go down there, give us a like on today's show. Let's dive right into the quote here. This was actually what Kwesi had to say during an interview following the NFL trade deadline, and I thought it was incredibly interesting. So this was the exact quote. He said, "We're sitting in a playoff position before the game starts, and they kind of reached out to me and said, Kwesi, we're gelling, and we love this team. We love being here. They didn't need to do that, but I love the relationship I have with those guys that felt comfortable enough to reach out through different channels to say that." So pretty much just summing this up right here, Kwesi said that he had some veterans come up to him and said, hey, we love being here. We love this team. Do not move off from us, and let's try to win games this season. And this absolutely fires me up. Like, hearing that, especially where the Vikings were at that time, where obviously, Kirk Cousins just tore his Achilles, and it was looking all gloom here in Minnesota that maybe this season was truly over. A lot of the players on the Vikings roster could have kicked it in and said, hey, Kwesi, trade me to a contender. Trade me to, we heard the Danielle Hunter, Jacksonville Jaguars rumors, maybe Harrison Smith, other these guys. Trade me to a true contender. What did they say? No, I want to stay here. I want to win football games in Minnesota. And some possible veterans that came up to my mind of guys that went to him and said, keep us here. I think it's these two, no doubt. I promise you Harrison Smith and Danielle Hunter were two of these veterans that went up to Kwesi and said that. And then maybe a guy like Jordan Hicks, as we heard the Buffalo Bills wanting to trade for Hicks, and then also maybe Harrison Phillips. Those are four defenders on this Vikings team that other teams were looking at and calling about. But, hey, I think these veterans, I think it's a pretty cool story that they wanted to stay in Minnesota. And this is kind of my take on the whole thing. I think it speaks to the culture that Kevin O'Connell has instilled with this football team. I've been critical of Kevin O'Connell, maybe him not being aggressive in certain spots, or maybe him not going for it when I would like him to. But overall, the vibe that this Vikings team has had throughout the beginning of last season has been great. Like, it's just this kind of positive energy. They preach communication. They preach kind of this open line of communication where it's like, no matter who you are on the roster, be honest with me. Let's talk about it, and then we can break it down and find the correct answer. And I think just overall, this whole story about veterans going to Kwesi, talking about this, I think it just speaks to what Kevin O'Connell and even Kwesi, the overall culture that they have in this Vikings organization. And speaking about just the overall problems that the Vikings had early on this season, I think when we were looking at that NFL trade deadline, we were looking at like, okay, the Vikings, we were 4-4 going into that Green Bay game. Then obviously you lose your starting quarterback, Kirk Cousins. But I think overall this was a very good Vikings team. And think about the problems early, like that Philly game. Turnovers killed us. Even against the Buccaneers, turnovers killed us. I mean, the Vikings were first. They still are actually first in fumbles lost this season. And then you also just had injuries. Like, you lose Justin Jefferson, he goes on IR. Darisaw missed last week. Obviously now, Kirk Cousins is missing the whole year. Like, the Vikings had all these kind of opportunities to just kind of mail it in for the rest of the season, and they didn't want to do that. And also, you had a tough schedule. I mean, the Vikings' 4 losses this year are against the Chiefs, Chargers, Eagles. Then obviously week 1 against the Buccaneers is still probably going to kick yourself over that one. But, man, yeah, Vikings had a lot of problems here early, but listen, it just kind of speaks to this culture, and it kind of speaks to the overall vibe that this team has, that they were overcome these issues and kind of believe in themselves and say, hey, if we clean up the turnovers, if we get back and healthy and this schedule eases up a little bit, we are a good football team and we can win games. But I'd like to ask you guys, overall rosters in the NFL, where do you guys think the Vikings land? I'm going to say top 5. Are the Vikings a top 5 roster in the NFL right now? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no on today's video. There's going to be a pinned comment on today's video. So go down there, while the YouTube ad break is playing, answer today's pinned comment, and then scroll right back on up. So overall, I do think the Vikings are about to go on a run. I think this roster is ready. Jefferson just got cleared off IR. Doesn't look like he will play this week. We'll actually get into a quote at the back half of today's video from Kevin O'Connell talking about this. But I think the Vikings are about to go on a run. Listen, you're 5-4 right now, and the schedule gets incredibly easy. I mean, this week against the Saints, you can call it a coin flip. Vegas, the bookmakers out west have this as Saints favored by 2. I would obviously bet Vikings money line on that one. But then you go, week 11, 12, and 13. Fully expect the Vikings to be favored in each of these games. Maybe not in Denver, in LA, or Las Vegas. That might be a toss-up game as well. But I would expect the Vikings to win this or win those 3 games. And if you could somehow get to maybe 8-5, what if you are 9-4 over the next 4 weeks? You are going to go on a run. And listen, this team, you got a lot of ballers on this team, man. I mean, just looking at some of the best players on this roster, you have blue chip players at almost every position. I mean, talk about the wide receivers for a second. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, I think he's the best weapon in the NFL. Now, Jordan Addison has really emerged as a wide receiver 1. Looks like the best wide receiver in this past year's draft class. TJ Hawkinson, he's really came on over the last couple of weeks. He's a top 5 tight end, no doubt about it. And then there are tackles Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw have been absolutely fantastic this year. I think Christian Darrisaw is the best left tackle in the league. Brian O'Neill, no doubt, top 5 right tackle. Then on the defensive side of things, with Brian Flores, we've really ramped it up here. I mean, Danielle Hunter had a great year so far. Cam Bynum has had an unreal year. Jordan Hicks has kind of had a resurgence. And then the UDFA, Ivan Pace Jr., he's looked great as well. And then obviously you got the vet, Harrison Smith. You got 10 blue chip players on this team. I think the overall roster is really solid. And listen, they're going to need to show up this weekend because you talk about playoff chances, talk about going on a run. Listen, man, if the Vikings get a win this weekend, you can almost lock in the playoffs. According to just some deep analytics, if the Vikings do win, they do have a 74% chance to make the playoffs. But if they lose, they only have a 41% chance. That's just absolutely insane. This is actually the biggest margin out of any team in the NFL this week with a win or a loss, just determining their playoff chances. But 74% chance with a win, 41% chance with a loss. Big-time game this weekend. Coming up just around the corner, though, we are going to talk about Danielle Hunter because I think Danielle Hunter should be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. And right now, he's really not being talked about. I've seen the NFL Instagram post out, who should be the Defensive Player of the Year, and Danielle Hunter doesn't even make their graphic. I think he's gone a little underrated, and he's having the best year of his career. So we'll talk about that in a second, but I do got to give a huge shout-out to Game Time, today's sponsor of today's edition of Vikings Now. Listen, guys, it's the best seats, lowest price guaranteed. And the thing I love the most about Game Time, the prices drop as the events get closer. I love using Game Time, and you guys shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Guys, I absolutely love using Game Time. Hey, if you're trying to go to the Vikings Saints game this week, make sure you guys get hooked up with Game Time. If you guys use the code VikingsChat, you'll get $20 off your first purchase. You guys can literally look around on your phone when you choose the seat and see the view from the seat. It's the coolest and best way to buy tickets. So make sure you guys do get hooked up with Game Time today. Go download the Game Time app. Create an account, use code VikingsChat for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code VIKINGSCHAT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's talk about it. Should Danielle Hunter be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation? Yes. I mean, that is my short answer to this. Yes. How could he not be? Because this Vikings defense was the worst in the league last season. And now Danielle Hunter is kind of having this monster type of year, and the Vikings defense is actually very serviceable. They're actually middle of the pack in about every statistical category on the year, and he's been absolutely fantastic this year, man. I mean, these stats are absolutely ridiculous. 46 tackles, leads the league in sacks at 10, and he also leads the league in tackles for loss at 13, and then he's also second in forced fumbles, and then he's first in pressures. He is top 3 in every edge category that you could think of. And we know, Defensive Player of the Year over the past couple seasons, it's gone the edge rushers. They are the most important kind of position on defense right now. And then PFF, they had the nerve to put out their all-pro teams for midseason awards. And listen, I get it. These 4 names right here, absolute dogs. Like, I'm not going to argue that Danielle Hunter is better than Garrett, Watt, or Bosa. I can make an argument that he's better than Maxx Crosby, but listen, right now with the season Danielle's having, I would put him above Bosa. I'd put him above Crosby. I'd probably honestly put him above TJ Watt this year. Probably Myles Garrett's the only one that I wouldn't have. But listen, man, Danielle Hunter's been fantastic this year. And, specifically what I love about Danielle is his timely sacks that he has. Like, I think that's been the biggest case this season is, like, anytime Danielle Hunter needed to have a sack in a big-time game, I feel like he's answered that bell this year. I mean, even dating back to week 2 against Philly, he was the only reason the Vikings stayed in that game. And listen, sacks went ahead this year, he's got 3. Sacks when tied this year, he's got 2. But sacks when behind, this is what I love. He has 5 sacks this year when the Vikings are trailing in that ball game. First half sacks 4, second half sacks 4 as well. So listen, I love the way Danielle Hunter's been playing this year. I think he for sure should be in the DPOY conversation. It's gone to edge rushes over the past couple of seasons. So listen, man, I'm just a big fan of the way he's played. I've been a big fan of him, even dating out, coming out of LSU. We really feel like we have like the guy who had back-to-back 14.5 seasons back. So listen, Danielle Hunter, keep what you're doing. You'll eventually get in that DPOY conversation. You just need the media heads over at the NFL to, finally show you some love. But we'll show you love here on the channel. But, guys, let me know. Danielle Hunter is the blank best edge rusher in the NFL. Let me know your thoughts down below. I probably got him I'll go 4th right now. I'll give respect to the guys ahead of him, but I'll go 4th. Danielle's the 4th best edge right now. We're going to wrap today's show up talking about Justin Jefferson. Will he be back this week against the Saints? It's not looking likely. Honestly, the Saints have a really good secondary, so I'd love to have 18 back. But Kevin O'Connell spoke about it yesterday, and this is what he had to say. He said, I think that would probably be a little aggressive, talking about bringing him back this week. I think he feels really good. I think we all feel good about where he's at, but we're going to take it a day at a time and ultimately do what's best for Justin and his long-term future with us here in Minnesota. And then clearly he wants to get back and have an impact on this team. Listen, 18, I miss you, but take your time. Like, the Vikings are 4-0 without you this year. Obviously, it's not like a thing where it's like, oh, the Vikings better without Justin Jefferson. No. I mean, we need 18 on the football field, but take your time. And listen, when I was kind of reading that quote, what if this is a little gamesmanship from Kevin O'Connell right now? What if Jefferson is fully ready to come back and they don't want the Saints to kind of have any insight on what they or who if he's going to play? What if Kevin O'Connell's saying like, hey, it's unlikely he comes back. We'll take it day to day. Who really knows? But overall, I do think he's probably not going to play this weekend. But let's show him some love. Let's show the best weapon in the NFL our support. Type his jersey number down below. I can't wait to have him back, man. I missed him. I miss watching 18, hit the gritty in the end zone after he scores a touchdown. I miss him just getting up after first down and giving one of those. So hopefully he gets back here soon. Maybe it is a little gamemanship from Kevin O'Connell, and he will be out here this Sunday. But, guys, thank you guys so much for watching today's edition of Vikings Now. If you guys want more Vikings content in your life on Twitter, give me a follow over there at Pat Sieps. Link in the comment section and the description of today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching. See y'all next time. Skol Vikes, baby.